Hi, I'm Matt, and today I want to make the Lunatic the Cultist from Terraria. So to start, I get out all of the colors I'm going to need, and I make the yellow accents. This is more of a gold, so I combine some brown with the yellow in order to make it more of a gold color. However, I felt that was too dull, so I added in some orange to make it a bit more vibrant. After that, I combined together a bunch of different blues in order to make the dark blue that the cultist's robes are. Once this is done, I get a ball of tinfoil, a very small ball of tinfoil, and I cover it in the blue clay. Once the ball is completely covered, I build up the bottom with a large worm of the blue clay that then gets pressed down into the bottom part of the robes. Once this is pressed down and good enough, I pinch the bottom of the robes in order to make them look a bit more wavy. Once this is done, I make a thick worm and split it in half in order to make the arms. So to start, I make them arm-shaped, and then I get a ball stylus and shove them into the arm in order to make the sleeves look empty. Then this first layer gets baked, and I put a bunch of different worms on it in order to make it look a bit wrinkly, make it look more realistic. I put these worms wherever I think that wrinkles would go, and then, once I have all of them placed, I blend them into the rest of the body, but I don't fully blend them in, I still leave it to be noticeable, just that there aren't any seams. Once all of these are blended in, it's time to work on doing the same thing, but with the arms. Well, put the pits of the arms first, and then the arms. I just put the worms wherever I feel like wrinkles would go. Once the arms and torso are properly wrinkled, I bake it once again, and then I add the inside of the sleeves. On the insides of the sleeves, I make it black by filling it in with black clay, and then I take out the parts of it that are not on the inside of the arms. This gets repeated on both sides, and now that that's done, I get a flattened sheet of blue clay with a pinched smaller part on the bottom, and then I put that on both sides of the cultist. One of these goes onto the front, and one of them goes onto the back. Once these are both placed on, it's time to add the yellow parts. So to start, I get a thin worm of yellow clay, and I use it on the edge of the sleeves. This thin yellow worm is wrapped around the entirety of both of the sleeves, but specifically at the point where they end and the black and dark blue clay meets. After the worms are wrapped around, they are flattened, and then with a smaller ball stylus, they are flattened, kind of. After that, I raise up the very edges of the blue thingies. I don't know what they are, but I raised the edges of them because I thought it looked slightly better. Once that's done, and done to both sides, I make the gold bits on the robes. Now, only the bottom sections of both of the two different sizes actually have gold in the model, so that's what I did. And for this, I made the edges of them stick out slightly from the actual area that they went on. This happens on both the front and the back side, just repeated twice with a half circle of gold that then the edges of get poked outwards. Then this happens again, but with the smaller section, again getting poked out on the bottom, and also is a half circle. After that is done, I get a worm and I gut it into a circle and I press it down on the top of the cultist. The cultist gets baked before this to make sure that none of the details that I add get just pressed into the rest of it and completely disappear. And once that's pressed in, I start making the cultist's mask. This starts with a ball of clay that then gets poked out until it has an edge and it looks kind of like a bird. I make basically just the Plague Doctor mask out of white, and then with a ball stylus, I add circular eyes. And then, again with the ball stylus, which I just made it go too low on the screen to show, I push the top part of the eyes down in order to turn it into crescents. Then I fill in the empty space of those crescents with white clay, which I again did off screen. Professional here. Once the mask is done, I fill in the eyes with black clay on both sides, so both of the eyes, not just one. And then I bake it. Actually, I don't know if I do bake it, but let's just say that I do. After that, I get a ball stylus to get some I get 3 different sizes of balls to give texture to the bottom part of the hood that I had placed on there earlier. And then on the bottom of that, I place a worm of that gold clay. This gets wrapped around the entirety of the bottom and then flattened out and given a little bit of texture, but by the end of it, it doesn't really have any texture. After this is done, it's time to start working on the head. So, to start on the head, I first make the front part of the hood go out a little bit. Then I make a ball of tinfoil that then gets completely covered in black clay, enough to where the head sticks out, enough of where I wanted it on the head, I guess. Then the original black part of the head gets placed onto the rest of the body and then covered in the dark blue clay. Then I place a worm of the blue clay in order to make sure that there is a full separation between the mask and the hood. Well, an obvious separation, to make sure that there is a good seam. After the seam is blended in, I thicken the hood, and then once the hood is to the proper thickness, I add the little poke on the back. The cone on the back of the hood gets poked and just bent until it looked good, nice and wavy. After that, I poke and prod at the entirety of the hood in order to make it look slightly ruffled, to make it look not perfect. After that, I get the gold details all over the hood by first making the gold edges of the hood itself. And then after that, which the hood gets flattened, after the hood is finished, I get a worm from the top of the hood to the tip of the cone. This also gets flattened onto the hood, and because I didn't feel like making a base for this one, that it worked well enough on its own, that's the end. It's finished.